So very late last year, probably into October or maybe November, I started building the spaceship that you see here for a Blender project, and I never got around to finishing it then because I didn't really have the modeling experience or the willpower to keep going with it because, again, end of high school, shit happens. So I came back and finished it with a newer mindset, and this is what I ended up with. So I wanted to make a video just showcasing this. So the first thing that I modeled, right, was the original version of the cockpit here, which looked half as good as this. Because to build this, I used a completely different modeling technique, and um, that gave me a different result to what I have here. So getting feedback from Blender Guru's channel and other channels, I managed to perfect this into what you're seeing here now. The cockpit is kind of based off like this shoebox design, and I had a funny comment that it looked kind of like a toenail, like a toe, like the cockpit, but either way. So I started off with just this, right? And if the reference does pop up, which I'm not sure if it will, because I'm not sure why. Where is the references? Oh, I have to go into that one, right? And then, so what I was working with for the first one, let's go with just the cockpit here, right? So for my first ever build, I was working with hold on a minute. My first ever build, I was working with just this cockpit, and for this cockpit, I used a special method which I learned from another YouTuber, which is the double subdiv method. So for the double subdivision method, what I do is I insert a cube and I go control 1, and then I go to the modifier menu and I go subdivision surface again, then simplify, and then I do one of two things, right? I either insert a mirror and then I shade smooth, or I go let me turn off map cap, and then I either stick with this setup, or I turn that off, and then I just shade smooth it. I just shade smooth it, and then I turn on the cage right in the edit menu. So then now I can fully edit all of these faces like that without concern. This is very useful because you can create cool shapes like this. Not only that, but it allows for like a greater variety of it allows for greater flexibility when you're working with different shapes, right? Then I started working on these parts of the wings here, which are like the secondary wings, apart from this. And then I started first with like this outline shape that you're seeing here. And then I moved on to like these greebles on the outside. Greebles practically mean like extras, right? Embedded in the wings. So there are these, which all of these use an array modifier, right? And they're just stacked up against each other. This one does not, it's just one whole object. This is just, to make this piping here, what I did was that I made a cylinder and I attached it to the back of this object here. And then I used the spin tool to create like this curvature, and this by itself is just a separate pipe. These wings were just copy and pasted on the right and left. Then, and I still haven't textured this, by the way. So solid, where's material preview? I think it has something to do with the renderer. I then started working on the material preview, which I don't think I'm going to get around for a while, but that's fine. And I started building the bottoms of the aircraft using like just like sci-fi concepts. This is supposed to be like the hover engines that you see in a lot of video games, and then I repeated that on this side with like capacitor banks, because it's based off, I believe, a mining aircraft from Star Citizen, or I think EVE Online. And then I moved on from that to building out these the inside of this wing with all these engines, and the engines on the outside, those are done before, I think. Then there was the improvement for the cockpit, which I did last, because I built another version before this, which was not so good. And these along the bottom right, these circles here were made using Looptools, and this one was also made using just I think it was Subdivision that I made this with. And then this circle was originally also part of this, right? But I ended up doing some scaling, and I separated this circle from the actual original mesh, and then I attached these two turrets to it, and this, I guess, like sensors here. So yeah, the next part of this would be to get this to actually have materials and then render it somehow, and then I guess I could sell it or something like that, but I don't know, there's not a lot of hype around this. So yeah, if you do want this, just leave a comment down below, and I'll probably attach the model file for free. So yeah.